Hey everybody, this is Chris DeFurio with Keys to the Shop, and welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Kind of a special shift break today because this is the first one that we are going to be putting up on our YouTube channel and wanting to go quote unquote live with the minimal editing and that kind of thing. So increasing the engagement, that's the goal. That's what the kids are doing these days, right? Anyhow, check us out on YouTube at Keys to the Shop. Today's episode is brought to you by La Marzocco. La Marzocco is a household name in specialty coffee. I grew up in the industry using their machines. They are workhorses. I think that word has been used primarily about the Linea espresso machine, but across the different offerings they have at lamarzocousa.com, their machine offerings, the configurations, the styles, the integrated technology, both minimal and maximum, they're all amazing espresso machines and all great options for you to choose for your coffee shop. If you're starting out on your first store, La Marzocco is a great thing to put in your cafe. You have to invest in the best. And I think that's one thing that you have going for you. If you make that selection, it will be kind of the cornerstone of your cafe. You want reliability, beauty, innovation. La Marzocco has it in spades. They've been making this espresso machine by hand in Florence since 1927. That's their trade, that's their craft. And part of that is not just the equipment, but it's also just serving you as a coffee shop. Coffee shops need these espresso machines. And La Marzocco loves coffee people, and coffee shops, and it shows in their products. So check them out at lamarzocousa.com and email info@lamarzocousa.com to talk to their sales folks. They'll get you set up with the right stuff. So today's episode is also brought to you by Rattleware. So speaking of the right stuff, when you operate a coffee shop, there's all sorts of things that you need. Now, we just got done talking about an espresso machine. That's really big. But what about the small stuff? Small wares. That's a big deal. And if it doesn't work right, if it's not made to last, then you get frustrated. It's actually super annoying. So Rattleware at rattleware.com is all about creating a suite of products and selections for small wares that are there to be used, to be dependable, functional, and they don't mind being in the background of your cafe. That's what small wares do. They want to support the operation and the experience you offer your guests through amazing small wares. So check them out over at rattleware.com for your coffee shop's smallware needs. So today's shift break episode, is going to be talking about a common thing that I hear at Coffee Fest and from clients that I have alike. When we go over different assessments or we talk about things in our sessions on systems, and we talk about things that you need to apply in the cafe, and that is getting buy-in with your staff. The idea that that's great, that's wonderful theory or idea that I know is going to make my coffee shop better. And I think I've gathered a lot of great information here. But then we fall into the whole procrasta learning thing where we say, well, I might need a little bit more information before I put it into practice. And there's a bit of a trap there, because we need to have imperfect action moving forward. We need to have the decision muscles exercised in us by starting small and having high levels of integration and follow through with small things that we know lead to big results. Even if you have a list of 12 different areas of your business that you want, the idea of improving all of them before, right now it's October, getting towards the end of October. If you think you're going to get all of that stuff shifted around by the time the holidays hit, you're fooling yourself. You probably won't. There might be one or two things that, if focused on, are going to become somewhat of the new habit for you and your staff. And that's the point. The point is to start small, but not sort of give up. So you have a big long-term perspective on operational excellence, on creating a tide change for the way that you do hospitality, the way that the bar is cleaned, the consistency of your beverages, updating your policies and SOPs, and increasing the resourcing that you give your staff. It all is stuff I want right now. I want this right now. But you can't do it right now because business keeps happening. Fires keep popping up. Fewer will pop up in the future as you chip away at these things, but you still have to be present and you still have to do the work. And there are little pockets of time that you can carve out, though, to focus on the development of these resources like new SOPs or policies and communication training and coaching around them week to week that will allow you to see a little bit of a change and to allow you to start to feel the good feelings that come with seeing that change. A little bit more clarity around a common frustration in your shop, a little bit more consistency across the different shifts. If you have a morning shift and a night shift that are so different in terms of quality, getting that solved slowly, but seeing that change happen through your investment into standardizing the way you make espresso or milk temperatures and steaming. And that happens because you, as the owner or operator, have said, this week, I'm going to take 1 hour. Just start with 1 hour. Like deciding, like James Clear in his book, Atomic Habits, talks about push-ups. If you want to do push-ups, you want to get stronger, do one push-up a day. Now, of course, by the time you're down there and you're doing one, you're like, well, maybe I should do two. That's the whole point. But it is the idea that you want to break it down so granular, but schedule it and make it a sacred time that you do not give yourself the ability to bow out of, that you then become the kind of person that does this. And if you, as the owner, become the kind of person who works on the business, then the business starts to work better. The identity that you take on becomes the identity of the business. But if you're constantly running around and not carving out that time, small as it may be at first, not carving out that sacred time to work on the business, to develop these different needed resources, especially as you get busier, then that frenetic, frustrated, I don't know what's going to happen, I just need to survive kind of energy is going to be the energy that your baristas have. It's going to be the energy your customers pick up on. And it's the kind of thing that they are hoping a coffee shop does not have, actually, because they're going to go to work and their job probably already has its own version of what, unfortunately, your coffee shop is now giving them another dose of. And we wonder why people are going to the ready to drink coffee products, making coffee at home, going to the grocery store. Part of my theory here, of course, is that it's because it's a reaction against the unpredictable and frankly unhelpful feelings that we get by going to coffee shops whose values of hospitality and excellence only extend as far as their websites, but not into the actual operation of the cafe and in the details and the little things in the basics and foundational elements of relationship, product, communication, and just crafting that thing with integrity from the inside out. Coffee Fest all the time is, okay, first of all, I don't have time to do this. Second of all, how are we going to get people to be accountable for this? And the answer first is one step at a time, very little, consistently, and with passion and focus that shifts your identity, not to okay, I have to get this done and I'll move on to something else. But now this time where you're working on the business and you're focusing on refining and making more relevant and helpful and useful, holistic, your supporting documents and the actual execution of good people first empathetic communication and leadership, that's going to change the business. It's that, but it's also letting people know that there's an expectation that they too will do these things. And it's not just your great idea to execute on a new way of doing the dishes or a new way of dialing in espresso in the morning so that the first customer is going to get a great shot of espresso, not just a barista who is just like, oh crap, I forgot about the espresso. Well, I guess I'm going to, whatever it comes out, if it's in the recipe, then it should be fine, quote unquote. And customers get the short end of the stick, and then they start figuring out that maybe they'd better go somewhere else. Okay. So the accountability has to be there as well. We've got an episode talking about how policies have to have consequences with them. They have to have support systems, coaching, resourcing. You are there walking alongside your staff. You are there as the chief servant of this group, this team. Your authority is a tool to be used for the benefit of other people. And that has to be true. But also, you have to make hard decisions about performance after you've done your utmost. If somebody doesn't reciprocate that, you may have to embrace the fallout of that person's exit from the business. Try as you might through your written and consequences, that person may not be the right fit. If you start to make changes in the business, there might be changes in who is in the business. That's just part of this. That's not our goal, but it's a natural consequence sometimes. And we should be willing to embrace that. But a lot of this is really simple: starting small, being consistent, great communication. Give yourself a long timeline. I like a year. When I talk to my clients and they're talking about shifting the way they do certain things, I'm thinking, okay, what are we going to do in the next 4 quarters? How do we break this down? Because it's going to take that long for this to become the new way that we do things, the new culture. So, this shift break is all about you becoming the kind of leader that not only resources people well through using your time wisely in a planful, I don't even know if that's a word, way, week to week, working on the business that ends up benefiting them, but also coaching and continuing to focus on calling them up into that work daily, weekly, however long it takes to get that buy in. They know you're there and that you're there to be an asset to them. But ultimately, they do need to do that work. And if they know that there is a consequence attached to not doing it, and you may have allowed this, by the way, up to this point, you may have allowed people to just not do things, and it's cool. They're cool bosses. A lot of times, the cool bosses are the bosses, it's code for they're not really bosses. They're just real chill. There's no standards here. It doesn't really bode well for coffee in general if we drop our standards. We say I have such high standards for specialty coffee as a product, but then all of a sudden we get weird about standards in the shop where we're supposed to be showcasing these coffees in the best possible light. It's insulting, actually. So that's how you do it. You start small with your own schedule, with little bits of that larger plan over time. Invest yourself into empowering people through resourcing and clarity, and then empower yourself. It's okay to be the boss is a phrase that, is a good phrase. It's a book too by Bruce Tulgan. It's a great book to listen to. He's been on the show 3 times. And that's a part of this, holding folks accountable, even though that term might be a little bit troublesome. You want to have people whose accountability is something that they own themselves and that you can help them realize higher levels of their own expression of accountability rather than just having to force the wrong people to do the right things. I hope that makes sense. So, yeah, this is what I wanted to talk about for the shift break. A few good episodes to listen to are going to be in the show notes for today's shift. From there, I am open to your questions. I'm also open to having conversations with you about coaching one on one. If you're working through some sticky issues in your cafe, maybe this brought something up to you that says, maybe there is a need for me to enter into a new era of business. And I've known it for a while. I don't know how to get there. That's what I do, is I help people know the what, the why, and then we work on the how. And from there, you can see a lot of difference in the way that the health of your business is, and generally, it's better for you, your peace of mind, and thriving as an owner. So that's what we wanted to talk about. I hope it's helpful. And I've been here staring at the screen because I'm also on YouTube here. I want to encourage you to subscribe to Keys to the Shop on YouTube. Comment under this video if you're watching, what you think about what I've spoken of today. Does that resonate? What are some of the issues that you're going through? And maybe you have solved some of them and you want to share with the Keys to the Shop audience and viewers on YouTube what it is that you have done to have that be a solution. So comment underneath, subscribe, put the notification on. I'm not used to doing all the YouTube call outs, but we're all highly, so you know what to do. All right. Anyhow, I really appreciate all of you. I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you here next week on another edition of Shift Break, from Keys to the Shop.